Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, guys, we are back on Cube of the Galaxy behind me. If you guys watched the short that I posted the other day, you all know that we got the engine bay nice and cleaned up, but the motor decided to blow a intake gasket here in the back. So tonight we're going to be tackling the feat of putting the new intake gasket on the motor. I've got a huge box of parts over here that's we're gonna have to put the new intake gasket on the car. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drain the antifreeze out of the motor, so that way we can get rid of this top radiator hose here. So, but to do that, my aluminum radiator there has got a drain. We're going to unscrew out of the bottom of it. We're going to drain it into a pan I got in the floor. We're going to put it into a nice clean bucket that I have somewhere that's gone now. But we're going to put it into a nice clean bucket, that way we can reuse it because it's all got brand new antifreeze in it. So I'm going to get that draining. After that's drained, I'm going to take this top hose off and then I'll come back. Okay guys, so while our antifreeze is draining out of the car here, we're going to go ahead and do some multitasking here. We're going to go ahead and pop all the stuff off the top of the motor here, like our distributor cap here, all of our plug wires, our cool back off. We're going to take our valve covers off, get these oil breathers and our PCV valves out of the valve covers, and then after we get all that there off, I'll come back and then we'll be working on getting the carburetor off the motor. But Abby's going to film a little bit of me taking all this stuff off. So, how you're going to get your distributor cap off here, for anybody who doesn't know. It's just got two little clips here. Just take a screwdriver in and pop these off. Sometimes that back one can be a little aggravating. Get that there clipped off, and you're going to want to take all 8 of the plug wires here off. And on I guess I probably should have told you guys, this is a 352 FE for anybody who's not keeping up with the car. This is an FE style motor. All FE style motors are all the same. So if you are rebuilding any FE, you know, 352, 390, 360, 427, 428, and there's many, many more. These are all going to be the same process. So if we got that there all off, we're going to be very careful here so we don't get any scratches or anything on our newly painted valve covers. I'll wear those back there like that. Scoot over just a little bit. There we go. And then just like that there. Oh, I forgot one thing, guys. The coil wire. You got a plug wire here that goes to the coil. And then all of these here will come straight up off of the motor like that there. So now, our oil filter cap here, pretty self-explanatory. Just unscrews. Set that off to the side there. And our other PCV valve back here, just in a grommet that we can go ahead and pull out of the valve cover there. And then you're going to have 5 half-inch bolts on each valve cover that we're going to take those off. And then our valve covers will just come right up off the top. Alright, so now we've got the valve covers here off. I also went ahead and unhooked the heater hose from the top of the heater core there. That way it's not laying on top of the motor anymore. Well, I also went ahead and took the top radiator hose off. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get these rocker shafts back off. Because you have to take rocker shafts off to get the intake off, because 3 of the push rods here, here show maybe, 3 of our push rods here go through the actual intake there. So we got to take the push rods out, and in order to do that we got to take the rocker shafts off. So they are a 9/16. You have 4 bolts. How I'm going to do these here is we're going to break them all 4 loose in the line. So that one there's broke loose. That one there's broke loose. That one's broke loose. And that one's broke loose. And then we're going to start back from the front here. We're going to go 1 round on all 4 bolts, making sure we keep all this even, because if not, you can bend these rocker shafts. So we're Just like I said, making sure we keep everything even. Whenever these finally get no pressure on them anymore, you can go ahead and run them all the way out. One of your bolts will be different, so it is very important to make sure you keep up with where these bolts come from, because like I said, one of them is different. So we're going to go ahead and get both these rocker shafts off really quick, and then we'll come back to you guys. Okay, so the next thing we're working on here is we're trying to get our distributor out, because in order to get our intake to come off to clear the distributor, we have to take the distributor out. So the first thing we're going to do, doing that there is you want to mark your distributor in a way that you know that you can put it back in the exact same rotation that it is when you take it out, or else your motor will be out of time. And then the next thing we're doing here is, because I've already marked mine with a center punch, we're going to take this vacuum advance line here out, just like that there. And then we've got a bolt down here. If you want to come around on the other side there, maybe show the bolt we have right here. We're going to be taking it out. This is going to take a little plate off to hold your distributor down. Sorry if my hand's in the way. Not much room down here. Alright, so there we go. That's going to get our hold down plate here off. Get up here with our parts. Alright, and then we should be able to wiggle our distributor. And it's going to be stuck. We're going to get some penetrating oil. Never mind, it's coming out. There we go. And there we go. Now that's got our distributor out. Alright, so now the next thing we got to do is we got to get this carburetor off the top of here. So I went ahead and I took our fuel line here off, and I went ahead and I cut this line here off for the antifreeze that runs through here, and I took the heater hose off the back of the carburetor. The reason I cut this is because we're replacing this hose anyways, because it is old and dry rotted. But then after you get that there done, you're going to have a throttle ball here that you're going to want to take off. So that, let me get a screwdriver. That just pops off the carburetor. Usually pretty easy. I said usually, and this one's being a booger. There it goes. That there popped off there, and you got a return spring here. We will unhook there, and you got a kick down right here. It has got a clip that is going to come off. There we go. Pop the little clip off. It just looks like that there. Pop it off, then your kick down rod will slide over. It'll come off. And then you're gonna have 4 studs here that you're gonna take these nuts off of. So, and they're just on the 4 corners of the carburetor. I'm gonna go ahead and get these off really quick, and then I'll come back after I get these 4 nuts off. Okay, so now the 4 nuts are off. So our carburetor here should come loose. And just like that there, it is off. Okay, so after we get our carburetor there off, we've got a gasket here that's got to come off. We want to be very, very careful with this, making sure we don't tear it up. So get it off here. I'm going to set it over here to the side. And then we're going to have this piece here. I don't really know what this thing is called. Well, that come off easier than I thought. I'm going to set Set it to the side. And then it looks like we're gonna have maybe another gasket. It is majorly stuck, so we're just gonna leave it. We're just gonna pull it off of the intake for right now, guys. So the next thing we've got to do, we gotta get this spring bracket here took off. So I'm just gonna take the 2 bolts out of it here, and I'm gonna take all the intake bolts out. If you'll show here, Abby, you got an intake bolt here, 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 and back here, and then that'll be on both sides. I'm gonna get all those there broke loose and got them out, and we'll be ready to pull the intake. Yeah. Alright, go ahead.
I'm already wrong.
Oh, she's already going. So we are trying to get our intake here up as we've already got all the bolts out, and we've got a better way somehow. Okay. You got all the bolts out. Here it goes. Oh, I still got that hose on there. You mean go ahead and cut that bypass hose off? You can. There you go. So, if anybody on there doesn't know, these cast iron intakes on an FE weighs like 70 or 80 pounds. So they're very heavy, so just be aware whenever you're doing this that these are very heavy. Probably be smart to use an engine crane, but me and Dad here are going to go ahead and pack this thing off however he thinks is best. Probably just grab it. Oh, he's going to take it off.
Why don't you get that?
Ready.
I'll get the front. Ready?
I don't have the whole back. Alright, so we've got our intake off of our motor here. And we've got it over here in the floor. Looking big as ever. But now, for the rest of the night tonight, we are going to be cleaning up our gasket surfaces in here. I'm going to be cleaning up all my oil passages, my water passages, and then trying to get all the stuff that goes down in the cylinders out again. Also going to probably take the plugs out of it tonight. That way, just in case some antifreeze or something is running down in the cylinder, we don't bend a rod, try to crank it over or anything like that. That way it'll blow all the antifreeze and oil, whatnot, out of the cylinder. But for tonight, like I said, we're just going to be cleaning everything up. We're going to be cleaning up our head surfaces here where the new gasket lays. We're going to be cleaning up the surface here on top of the block where the end caps there lay. And then also on our intake here, we're going to be doing the same thing on the head surface on both sides and the surface here that mates to the block there. And then whenever we got all that cleaned up, we're going in, and then we'll be back out here again tomorrow night finishing up this repair. Alright, so I still haven't got the motor 100% cleaned up. I cleaned up our gasket surfaces, but I haven't cleaned up the valley there yet. As you guys can see, there's still rags and crud in there. But I did clean up the intake here. But all we got left now to do to the intake is we got to paint it. So I've got my engine paint over there on the table. We're going to turn the intake into looking like this to that. So this intake now looks much, much better as it is all painted, and we've got our gasket surfaces all cleaned up. And the intake is looking beautiful now. So it is ready to go. Like I said, I got to finish up cleaning this motor, and under here is a lot of trash as well. I'm going to get all this out of here. Probably going to get the shop vac out, suck all this crud up, suck these cylinders out, because one of them, yeah, see, it's got oil in there from where oil and antifreeze from where I pulled the intake off. So we're going to get the vacuum cleaner, suck all the oil and antifreeze out of all the cylinders, and then when we get that there done, we will be going back on with the intake. Okay, so we have got our intake in the floor here all clean. We have got our heads clean and our block surface. And we've got our intake gaskets laid in here. But on the block surfaces here, instead of using our cork pieces here, which was the cause of the other intake gasket leaking, these things dry out, get hard, and then they leak. We are going to be using black silicone, which is what he is putting in here now. So we just have to lay a thick bead of silicone, you know, the same thickness as the cork pieces over there, to lay in here.
Quit moving the car.
Sorry. Like that there. That way our intake seals up, and that way we don't have to worry about these silicone drying out and cracking and leaking later on down the road. This should last longer than the cork pieces do. So whenever we get this here all done and let the silicone set up for a little bit, we're going to be setting the intake back on the car. Look good over here. And that's how you do it. Bolt it there. Just whenever you torque these, just make sure you do a crisscross. Start in the center, like here, here, and then go here, 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 here. Yep. And here, here, like that. And then when you get them all just decently snug, I think you torque them, what'd you say, 30? All right. So we got the intake here on. So now I'm just snugging these down. So you're wanting to tighten these down. I'm just gonna get them decently snug here. You're just gonna wanna do these in a crisscross pattern, starting from the inside, going out. And like I said, a crisscross pattern. And whenever we get all these snug here, these torque to somewhere between 25 and 30 foot-pounds. Oh, okay, so now I'm going over these with my torque wrench in the same sequence at 25 foot-pounds. All right, so now we're gonna run it up to 30. Go over these all again. There we go, that was our last one there to get torqued. So now, we're moving on to the next thing. Okay, so what we have to do next is I'm gonna go ahead and put my rocker shafts back on both sides here. That way we can free up the table space that I'm taking up right here. So I'm gonna put these back on. I have another video posted showing you how to disassemble these, clean these, take these off, put these on. So I'm not gonna film nothing over these. So if you wanna learn that, I've got a video like I said. Go back a video on the Galaxy and I'll show you how to do this. But I've also got to clean this distributor up really quick. So I'm going to clean this up and we're going to be putting it back in. All that consists of that is you just got a gasket right here I can show you how to put on. And then we'll put it back in the car. But before we do that, I'm going to put these back on the car really quick. Okay, so right now we're putting our thermostat here back in. We've got our new gasket here. And we're putting some number 2 Permatex gasket maker on here. That way we allow this to stick well. And we're putting our thermostat in the housing there, and we're going to be bolting it on the intake. Okay, so we got the gasket here out of the distributor. Here's our new gasket. The groove side goes down, so the bevel goes down. You want to make sure you clean this groove here out, and you just put this up on here, and then pull it over this, and make sure it seats in this groove good. Alright, so now we've got our distributor back on, we got our rocker shafts back on, push rods in on the rocker shafts there. I got our top radiator hose on with our thermostat and our water neck. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our base plate gasket on. So I've got my base plate gasket right here, ready to go. We're just gonna slide this thing down on here, just like that. Make sure it seats good there. Then we're going to take our piece here and we're going to put it on. Actually, we're going to clean that neck out because that is nasty. So I'm going to clean that out real quick and then we'll come back and put this on. Okay, so now I've got my tubes cleaned out to where they're nice and clean now. So we're just going to take this big nipple thing goes to the back. So I'll just set it down on here. Just like that there. So now we're going to go ahead and hook our heater hoses back up to this piece. And then after that there, we're probably going to be putting the valve covers back on. Alright, so now we have got our carburetor here back on. So now all we like is just a few little odd end things, like putting the fuel line back on the carburetor, the vacuum advance for the distributor. I'm going to change out my cable ends, and they got to put the breather back on and all that. But that's super boring stuff, guys. So that is going to wrap it up for this video on putting the intakes on this here. So the motor should run really well now. I'll actually put a fire up in the video here at the end. But guys, if you did enjoy or found it helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button, because the Galaxy is not going anywhere on this channel. So if you're enjoying that content there, you guys can look forward to seeing much more on Kuba the Galaxy. But like I said, guys, if you did like the video, please hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see y'all next time.